Hello everyone, welcome to the CIS Top 20 Control Series. Let me share today's agenda. Let me share my screen. So this is today's agenda. In line with the earlier sessions, we will cover the controls definition and its requirements. Then we'll cover the implementation details. We'll also go over the risks associated with not implementing this control and the benefits of implementing this control. And we will also go over the tools which can help us in implementing these controls. So by end of this session, I hope you will understand these controls better and you will also implement them in in your own organizations or at a personal level. Before jumping into the session, a little bit about myself. My name is Husaina Begum. I'm a staff engineer with VMware working on network and security virtualization products. I'm also one of the lead for Women Who Code Pune chapter. I am also an open source contributor, currently one of the maintainer of CNCF sandbox project called Meshri. I'm also a learner. I have finished Stanford's Advanced Cybersecurity Certification Program, as well as AppNix 52nd Fellowship Program around Internet governance. I'm also a member of Lean in Breaking Barriers Circle for Women in Cybersecurity. I am also an innovator. I have 2 granted patents in the security area. So before getting into the details of Control 16, let's touch base on few of the things about CIS. CIS is a non-profit entity to safeguard public and private organizations against cyber threats. Its mission is to identify, develop, and promote best practice solutions to defend cyber attacks. Its mission also is to build an environment of trust in the cyberspace. CIS has come up with some controls by talking to industry experts and by analyzing the data from past attacks and their best mitigations. The CIS controls are globally recognized cybersecurity standard, and they have concise, actionable, and prioritized safeguards to protect organizations from cyber threats. And we have 20 top level controls as of now, and these controls are divided into 6 basic controls, 10 organizational control, 10 foundational controls, and 4 organizational controls. And these controls are subdivided into 171 subcontrols. And we have implementation groups to determine which subcontrol has to be implemented by an organization based on the organization's resources and cybersecurity expertise. So what is control number 16? As per the CIS control version 7.1, the definition of control 16 is to actively manage the life cycle of system and application accounts. That is right from the creation of these accounts and their use and dormancy and deletion in order to minimize the opportunities for an attackers to leverage them. So basically, this is about managing the system and application accounts. So let's get to the requirements of this control. First and foremost is to secure the account credentials and authentication mechanisms, and also to maintain the inventory of accounts and audit them regularly. And we should also be cleaning up the dormant and deactivated accounts as part of this control. And we have to reduce the chances of attacks going undetected. When the attack happens from a valid user account with valid credentials, those actions will not be flagged. So we have to avoid uh, such scenarios. And if there is an attack, we have to identify that the system is under attack. And another requirement is to store the username and passwords in a centralized repository by encrypting or hashing the passwords, so that users will not be able to gain access to it easily. Coming to the implementation details, we have prioritization schemes defined as we have 3 prioritization schemes: implementation group 1, group 2, and group 3. Implementation group 1 is for organizations with limited resources as well as cybersecurity expertise, and uh, they are not actually targets because of the uh, benefits that of attacking the organization is less compared to the value the attackers get out of it. And implementation group 2 is for organizations with moderate resources as well as cybersecurity expertise. These are organizations which have good amount of resources allocated, and these organizations are subjected to government regulations as well. So they have to comply to few things, so they have to implement the CIS controls. In implementation group 3 is for mature organizations who have significant resources available as well as cyber security expertise. These organizations are usually targets of state sponsored attacks because the stakes are high to uh, gain in this case. So now let's get to the control 16 and its sub controls. So as per the CIS control version 7.1, which is defined in 2019, we have 13 sub controls as part of control 16. Out of this, there are 3 sub controls under implementation group 1. These are the bare minimum sub controls which every organization has to implement. That is, disabling any unsolicited account, disabling dormant accounts, and locking workstations after certain inactivity. Sorry, let me go back. So under implementation group 2, we have subcontrols like maintaining inventory of authentication systems, maintaining inventory of accounts, which is subcontrol 6. And we also have centralized uh, point where centralized authentication point. For example, instead of having local authentication, locally authenticating users, we can have a centralized server where all user accounts get authenticated. This is subcontrol 2. Subcontrol 3 talks about requiring multi-factor authentication. This is to protect against attacks whenever a username password gets compromised. So attackers cannot gain access to your account even if one of your authentication factor is compromised. By having another factor of authentication, for example, SMS based or biometric authentication, so users will not be able to gain access to your accounts. without having your biometric or SMS. Subcontrol 4 talks about secure storage of the authentication credential, that is either by encrypting or hashing the passwords. Subcontrol 6 talks about this we have already covered, maintaining inventory of accounts. Subcontrol 7 talks about establishing a process for revoking access. This is applicable for employees leaving an organization. Their account should be deactivated. So there should be a workflow which should get automatically triggered whenever an employee leaves the organization. Subcontrol 10 talks about ensuring that all accounts have an expiry date. So whenever a user account is created, if it is created for a certain purpose, there should be an expiration date. So after this action is taken by this user account, the account should get deleted. And subcontrol 12 talks about monitor attempts to access access from the deactivated accounts. For example, an employee has left the organization, but after 3 months, we see an login attempt from that user account. Such event should be monitored, and certain action should be triggered after that. So all these controls that I have spoken about till now fall under implementation group 2. And coming to implementation group 2, which group 3, which includes all these sub controls of group 2 and one more. So that is 16.13 sub control, where we should have an alert raised if we see a login behavior which is not normal. For example, employees log into the internal servers from 9 to 6 p.m. kind of thing, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. In office hours, or let's consider 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of thing. If an attempt is made to log into such a server in the middle of the night, for example 2 a.m., that should be considered as deviation in the behavior, and an alert should be raised, and the backend IT teams or security teams should be notified about such an attempt. So this is about CIS controls version 7.1. After reviewing these controls, CIS have come up with another version 8 in 2021, which condenses some of these controls into single sub-control, so that it would be easy to follow and implement. So let's go over version 8's sub-controls. These are under control 5. The account management related controls are under control 5. And we have 6 sub-controls here. First and foremost is to maintain the inventory of accounts, which we have already covered. And second sub-control is about maintaining unique passwords to various services. Usually, users select the same email and a password combination to sign up for multiple services or applications. So if one of that service gets compromised, all other services will also get compromised. So instead of this, users should choose various passwords for various services. And they should also be implementing multi-factor authentication. For example, if the account name and passwords are compromised for some reason, the service, the user's account is not compromised without the multi-factor authentication. Subcontrol 5.3 talks about disabling dormant accounts. So any account which does not have an activity for 45 days or more should be deactivated. Usually you would receive bank alerts saying that if you have not accessed your account for an year, they would send you a notification, and they would deactivate your account So similar thing should also happen for user accounts for the IT systems or servers. Subcontrol 5.4 talks about restricting administrative privileges to dedicated administrative accounts. For example, certain operations can only be done by root account on a Unix system. So similar to that, the IT systems should have a specific admin accounts with admin privileges to perform administrative tasks. Any normal user should not be able to do those tasks. Subcontrol 5.5 talks about maintaining inventory of service accounts. Service accounts is the concept in the cloud use case and cloud framework era, where these service accounts can be used to provision systems in cloud environments. For example, provisioning a VM or creating virtual disks or associating storage to a certain virtual machine. So using service accounts can only these privileged actions can be taken. So those service accounts should be monitored and accounted for, and they should be audited regularly. Subcontrol 6 talks about centralized account management. Instead of having all user accounts in a local server, it's good to have a centralized Windows Active Directory kind of management of accounts. So that's about the 6 subcontrols of CIS control version 8. Out of this 6 subcontrols, initial first 4 subcontrols are under implementation group 1, and all 6 subcontrols are under implementation group 2 and 3. So now let's get to the risks associated with not implementing this control. So first and foremost is the systems get compromised and unauthorized access to the information happens. And some of the known data breaches that we have seen are Equifax data breach, Capital One's, and LinkedIn user accounts and user email and phone number information being leaked online, and Aadhaar information being leaked online. And the other risk what we have is such attacks can go undetected because attackers are using valid and compromised credentials. And another big risk is with admin and service accounts being compromised, which can lead to much more harm. For example, the Twitter Bitcoin scam, where one of the admin tools access was obtained by the attackers, and they got access to a number of celebrity accounts, and they just on their behalf. So without even getting the username and password of each celebrity account, hackers could gain access to all their accounts and reset their passwords and carry out this scam. And final risk that I would like to cover is about undetected unauthorized access for extended period of time. So when we don't suspect that the systems are attacked, we won't be able to stop the attack progress any further. So in this case, in addition to the existing user data being compromised, any new user who signs up for the for your service or for your app would also be at the risk of their data being exposed. Now let's talk about the benefits of implementing these controls. One is by monitoring the accounts constantly, we can stop the unauthorized access attempts at the earliest. For example, we are monitoring the approved number of user accounts on a particular system, and we see another user account popping up out of nowhere. So we can very well assume that this is an attempted attack, and we can delete the account and stop the attack. And by using unique passwords for different services will help us in avoiding compromise of all services if one of the service gets compromised, because same username and password cannot be used for all services, because we are using unique passwords. And by using a single sign-on, users need not remember multiple passwords to internal apps within the organization. So this would encourage users to use one strict and difficult password, which is better than choosing multiple easy passwords for multiple services. And having password managers will help in reducing the number of passwords one user has to remember. And they can also generate passwords matching one password criteria as well by the password managers. And enabling multi-factor authentication will help in restricting access to our accounts, even if one of the authentication method is compromised. For example, username and account password is compromised, even then attackers cannot gain access to our account without the multi-factor authentication. For example, or biometric or auth code on your mobile app. And having log auditing will help us identify undesired behavior. For example, login attempts from deactivated or dormant accounts. So these are some of the benefits of implementing the Control 16. And yeah, I hope you make use of these controls and implement them in your organizations or at your personal account level also. So let me go to some of the tools which can help us in implementing these subcontrols. We have password managers like 1Password, Dashlane, LastPass, and Bitwarden. So these password managers are mostly free with certain features, and if you want premium features, we need to pay a certain annual fee or monthly fee. For example, having encrypted storage of passwords of certain GB, you have to pay a certain amount for these password managers. And the second thing is about identity and access management. We can have Windows Active Directory or small organization which can't afford the licenses can go for cloud-based IAMs. And for multi-factor authentication, we can use either SMS based or mobile app based. And we can also have hardware key based, for example, YubiKey with fingerprints. And for log monitoring, we can have ELK stack. And for account inventory management, we have some solutions like Collide or Wazoo. So next, I have referred to these resources to prepare this presentation. And you can also go over this CIS password policy guide, which is very helpful even for an organization or for an individual. And some of the password managers also are listed here. You can choose either one based on your requirement. And if you have any questions regarding this presentation, you can put your questions in the comment section. I will try to address them later. Thank you all. It was, I hope you can take some of these learnings and implement them either at your organizational level, if you are part of IT teams or security teams, or at a personal level also, and you gain from these learnings. Thank you.